Welcome back to Metta Health Talk. If you are watching this video, the statistics suggest that you or someone you love is currently navigating a metabolic crisis. According to global health data, nearly half of the adult population in many developed nations has either prediabetes or full-blown type 2 diabetes. But here is the truth that often gets lost in short doctor visits. Diabetes mellitus is not simply a disease of high blood sugar. That is just the symptom. The disease itself is a fundamental breakdown in how your body processes energy. It is a state of hormonal imbalance that begins years, sometimes decades, before your blood test shows a problem. Today, we are conducting a masterclass. We are moving beyond the basic advice of eat less, move more. We are going to explore the biology of the beta cell, the overflowing bathtub theory of insulin resistance, the difference between visceral and subcutaneous effect, and the specific science-backed protocols to not just manage this disease but potentially put it into remission. I need you to listen carefully because what we discuss in the 15 minutes could save your vision, your kidneys, and your life. Let's dive in. To understand how to treat diabetes, we must first destroy a common myth. The myth is that type 2 diabetes is caused purely by eating sugar today. The reality is that it's a disease of storage capacity. Let me explain using the overflowing bathtub analogy. Imagine your body is a bathtub. The water coming from the faucet is the energy, glucose you eat. The drain at the bottom is the energy you burn through exercise and basic metabolism. In a healthy person, the water comes in and the water drains out. The level stays low. But in type 2 diabetes, the drain is clogged, sedentary lifestyle, and the faucet is running full-blast, high-calorie, high-sugar diet. The bathtub fills up. Now, here is the crucial part. Insulin is the force that tries to push that water into the tub. But what happens when the tub is full? The water spills over onto the floor. The spillover is high blood sugar. When you take insulin injections or drugs that force the pancreas to work harder, you are simply increasing the pressure to shove more water into an already overflowing tub. You aren't fixing the problem. You are just hiding the water. Eventually, the water floods the floor. That is when we see organ damage. So, the root cause is not just a lack of insulin. It is insulin resistance. Your cells are screaming, "We are full! Stop sending us energy!" This brings you to a concept called the person effect threshold. You might ask, why do some thin people get diabetes while some obese people don't? This is where we distinguish between subcutaneous fat and visceral fat. Subcutaneous fat is the fat under your skin, the pinchable fat on your arms or legs. It is aesthetically annoying, perhaps, but metabolically, it's a relatively safe storage. Visceral fat, however, is the fat stored inside your abdomen, wrapping around your liver and pancreas. When a safe storage, subcutaneous is full, your body starts stuffing fat into the liver. A fatty liver cannot respond to insulin properly. This causes the liver to dump sugar into the blood even when you haven't eaten. Then, the fat spills into the pancreas, clogging the beta cells, the very cells that make insulin. This is known as the twin cycle hypothesis. Fatty liver leads to the fatty pancreas, which leads to diabetes. This explains why looking thin doesn't mean you are safe. If you have a hot belly but skinny arms, you are metabolically at higher risk than a rugby player with large thighs. We know the classic symptoms: polydysbia, polyuria, and polyphagia. But let's look at the subtle early warning signs that most people miss. 1. Reactive hypoglycemia, the crash. Before you get diagnosed with a high blood pressure, you might experience episodes of low blood sugar. You eat a high-carb lunch, your insulin spikes massively to compensate, but it overshoots. 2 hours later, you are shaken, sweating, and angry, hungry. This roller coaster is a hallmark of early insulin resistance. 2. The dawn phenomenon. You wake up. You haven't eaten for 8 hours, but your blood sugar is high. Why? Because your liver is insulin resistant. In the early morning, your body releases cortisol to wake you up. This signals the liver to release some energy. In a healthy person, insulin keeps this in check. In a diabetic, the liver dumps massive amounts of sugar into the blood unchecked. 3. Neuropathy and retinopathy. High sugar is toxic to blood vessels. The first vessels to die are the tiniest ones, the capillaries in your fingertips, toes, and eyes. Do you feel a tingling or pins and needles sensation in your feet at night? That is not bad circulation, that is nerve damage. Is your vision blurry after a big meal? This is glucose swelling the lens of your eyes. They are the red flags that the floor of the bathroom is beginning to rot. How do we track this? Most docs use the HbA1c, hemoglobin A1c. This measures the percentage of sugar struck to your red blood cells over 3 months. Normal is below 5.7%, pre-diabetes 5.7% to 6.4%, diabetes 6.5 and above. However, hemoglobin A1c is an average. It's like the average temperature of a day. If it's freezing in the morning and boiling in the afternoon, the average is pleasant, but the reality was chaotic. If you have access to it, a CGM, continuous glucose monitor, is superior. We look for timing in range. We want your glucose to stay between 70 and 140 mg per deciliter, or 3.9 to 7.8 millimole per liter for at least 80% of the day. We also look at HOMA-IR. This is a circulation based on your fasting insulin and fasting glucose. It tells us how hard your pancreas is working to maintain normal levels. You can have normal blood sugar but high insulin. That means you are in the early stages of the disease, long before the HbA1c rises. If less time isn't enough, we use tools. Medicine have evolved significantly in the last 5 years. 1. Metformin, the grandfather of diabetes drugs. It was primarily by telling your liver to stop producing so much glucose. It also sensitizes your muscles to insulin. It is safe, cheap, and often the first line of defense. 2. SGLT2 inhibitors, cefalozin such as dapagliflozin. These are fascinating. They work on the kidneys. They lower the threshold for glucose excretion, essentially causing you to urinate out the excess sugar and calories. They have been shown to protect the heart and kidneys effectively. 3. GLP-1 agonists such as semaglutide, tirzepatide. They are the famous injection pens. They mimic a hormone in your gut called GLP-1. They do 3 things. They stimulate insulin only when needed. They stop the liver from dumping sugar, and most importantly, they tell your brain, I'm full, I'm full. This helps tackle the obesity driver of the disease. Medication manages the condition. Lifestyle corrects it. Here's the advanced protocol. Step 1. The glucose goddess hacks. You don't have to starve, but you must change the order in which you eat. 5 are fast. Eat a cup of broccoli or a salad before your rice. The fiber creates a mesh in the small intestine, slowing down glucose absorption. Vinegar. 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water before a meal can reduce the glucose spike by up to 30%. It temporarily inactivates the enzyme that breaks down starch. Step 2. Time-restricted eating. Fasting. Remember the bathtub? We need to let it drain. If you eat from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., the faucet is always on. Try to eat within an 8 or 10 hours window, such as 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. This gives your body 14 to 16 hours of low insulin, allowing it to finally burn the stored fat in the liver. Step 3. Zone 2 cardio and resistance training. Your muscles are the biggest sink of glucose. Resistance training, lifting weights, increases the number of insulin receptors on your muscles. Even without weight loss, building muscle drops your blood sugar. Combine this with walking specifically after meals. A 10-minute walk after eating activates the glut for transporters in your muscles, sucking up sugar without needing as much insulin. I want to end with hope. The direct trial diabetes remission clinical trial out of the UK proved that type 2 diabetes is reversible in many cases. They found that if a patient could lose approximately 50 kg, 33 pounds, repeatedly, the fat drained out of the liver and then out of the pancreas, the beta cell, which were thought to be dead, actually woke up and started working again. This means you are not broken. Your system is just overloaded. Diabetes is a serious signal from your body that your metabolic engine requires a new fuel source and a maintenance check. Listen to that signal. Consult your doctor, check your numbers, and start training the bathtub. Thank you for joining this masterclass. If you found this deep dive helpful, please subscribe and share this with someone you care about, someone you love. I'll see you in the next episode.